Hello Pirates, how's everyone today? Um, I'm just here to kind of show you my ideas for building monoliths now with a complete fleet. Just to change it from what I usually do, this time I'm using Huggies. If you want the link to the build, it's in the video description on YouTube, okay? I'm also going to ask Andrew to upload that to the Forsaken Council website later. So let's get started. My basic fleet configuration now after having the first raid in the Cold War cycle is one tank, which is the Gridiron Monolith, one ship that mixes countermeasures and mortars, but it follows, it trails the tank, and then three ships loaded with mortars. And right here in Huggies I have three different configurations just to show you what's possible. I'm not going to build them one each way, just so you know. It's more like pick one and stick with it, right? So first setup, one thing I noticed in Raid is that in the backline mortar ships, it's good to have the charged armor. So I put one panel of C1M, one panel of C1X. Keep in mind that's optional. It helps when you make a mistake. If you never make mistakes, you don't need it. You could also opt for X armors and M armors. I would go with X if I had to choose. Or like I had originally, turn armors, that's fine too, or no armor at all. It's your call, really. I just think having the limited C1X and C1M, they're very lightweight. And they are good insurance policy against mistakes. So that's the first thing you notice. Second thing, if you got the OU mortar from the TLC last time, they're good. They have very good DPS, pack a real big punch, which in many cases can actually lead you to kill the targets just in the first round. So you don't really need to even wait for the reload. But because they're too heavy, you can't really have a monolith loaded with them. So there are a few options. Here's one option where I have 4 of them, 2 coaxial firestorms, and 1 judgment. Okay, I just mix for the fun of it. I mean, you don't have to do it. Another option down here is all judgments and just 1 OU. That fits. Okay, and I have room for the 2 charged armors and the 1 D2T armor to help with turning. Okay, same here, but different output. The third scenario, I only use 3 OU mortars, and then I use the rest all coaxial firestorms. Really fast reload, lots of projectiles because the salvo is 3. So even if you're having to deal with some countermeasures, you easily overload them. The good thing about this setup is there's no empty slots, so if you actually take full advantage of the DPS bonus you have from the monolith by using all slots with offensive weapons. It's actually a better output. You have a little bit of concussive damage, that really doesn't matter much, right? I mean, this setup here has more DPS due to the higher damage, but you're leaving the bonus from this slot is lost. Okay, here you got very good DPS, I mean potentially the highest, and you're occupying every single slot. So honestly, any setup's gonna work in that sense as far as mortars go. If you didn't get the OU, just do all judgments. I think is the best second option. And that mortar was offered tier 1 in the TLC, and it's also in FM, so it should be very common for everyone. I'm very consistent on the special, so my setup is Speed System 5, Garrison Battery, if you got that last raid. If not, you could try Siege Battery, might have some weight adjustments here to make. Combustion System, and I chose this one for the extra spread. I noticed that having more spread helps killing turrets when they are far apart, and we saw quite a lot of that in last raid. And that's why I'm also not using narrow firing aperture anymore here on that slot like I was planning to. I chose to viscosity regulator because that gives me the splash without reducing the spread. So if you notice the statistics here, I have plus 20% spread and 205% splash. Splash comes from the high yield warheads, comes from combustion system, comes from viscosity regulator, and comes from splash upgrade. So you see it's pretty much all about that splash. Okay. And you see I don't waste any slots with defensive specials because I have the insurance from the charged armor if I make some minor mistakes. So if you don't make mistakes, these ships are not supposed to ever take any damage anyways. So you can focus on all being offense oriented. Okay, now setups here I use the same set of specials. This one doesn't have the T armor, no room for that, so I had to sacrifice the T armor to do this configuration. Up to you really. Anyways, if you go with this setup or that setup that have the T armor, then make sure your countermeasure ship has the T armor as well. If you go with this setup without the T armor, then you just remove that from here. This ship has a lot of room to spare, but the fleet's pretty much maxed out. Okay, if Huggies is correct, that's using Dock 13 Shipyard 4. You can do same setup with Shipyard 3. Apparently it doesn't make a difference here. I don't know if it's calculating that properly though, but certainly works with Shipyard 4. So the countermeasure ship, it's a mix. I mean, it has the same specials as the others, except it doesn't have viscosity regulator. Instead, I put countermeasure loaders to have more accuracy and range on the countermeasures. I've noticed, especially on the VXP weekend, that level 101 target, which is supposed to be very similar, if not the same as the tier 7 target, the elite target next raid, a lot of ships firing mortars at you. So at some point, you're really raining mortars on you. So I focused on 3, Gale 2, and just 1 flanks 4. Okay, remembering that my tank will have a lot more of those, so this is just in case, like as a backup CM ship. And 4 mortars, most of the specials being damage oriented. Same charged armors if you have them, if not, leave empty, or you know the drill, put some max armor in there. Then the flagship. The flagship, really heavy on armor. I chose D5X, and the main reason is twofold. When you make a mistake, the damage coming in is mostly explosive when you get too close to a turret and everything. It also gives me more deflection, so I go from 600 to 660, from 300 to 360 assault deflection. So that's important. 1 Harrier missile for max range with SFB3. Only 2 flanks 4, which combined with the one on the other ship there makes 3. And I noticed that was enough to counter the flow of missiles. There's not that many missiles firing at you that these 3 won't be able to handle. So I focus on mostly Gales, and here's all Gale 3. Again, to maximize my explosive defense, which is at 95.8 versus ships, and 98% versus turrets. Okay, I get that by using frontline countermeasure system, 50% turret defense, MX3, high evade, so most missiles that eventually pass the countermeasures will miss the ship due to the high evade. I got to 62, it's okay. And then thruster, so the tank gets very maneuverable, very easy to turn, and you don't hit mines. And that also gives you a bit more evade, especially at R15. You get more evade than that and more turn. So that's my setup. No big secrets here, nothing unusual. Again, I will leave in the Huggies link, I'll leave 1 ship of each type, just so you can pick 1 configuration, but don't mix them up. Remember that. Pick 1, like this one, and make all 3 like this one, or all 3 like this one. And then just remember, if you're using T armor here or not, do the same on the countermeasure mixed ship. So So that's my setup. I have them partially ranked. I didn't get them to skull, but they're all like 73%, and the Gridiron is about 60%. I'll see how that goes in raid. And now I'm just weaponizing and putting the specials, finishing them up. So I hope that was helpful, and enjoy next raid. And I hope the monoliths work. I mean, they're a bit tricky to drive. And whenever you turn the flagship, the other ships will be out of the field. So the aura, which works like behind the ship as a wake. So really not the best design idea by Kixeye in my opinion, but whatever, that's how they decided to do. So let's build it, let's have fun, let's kick some ass, and enjoy the game. Take care, everyone.